Welcome back. Welcome back to the course. This is week 5, part 1. Again, I hope you're enjoying the course connected to particularly the fake news. I hope you're also talking about this topic outside the class, outside the lectures. Please indulge in speaking about the content outside the course, outside the students in the class, because I think more you talk about the content or more you live with the content in some sense, ask questions, right? Maybe there's a news article that you read which looks fake. Maybe there is a social media post that you looked at recently is fake. So think of, which aspect is it? Is it doing the falseness? Is it doing the harm? Is it false content? Is it news satire? Is it parody? What is it, right? And next question is, okay, if that is it, can you actually find ways to programmatically find this? The goal is to create methods by which you can quickly find this, right? Meaning manually we can find all of them. There's no problem. Given infinity resources, we can solve many of these problems, but we don't have that luxury, right? Okay, let's continue. Week 5, part 1, continuing it on fake news itself. Feel free to send us any questions. It's interesting to interact with you on the live sessions. I would like more of you to join the live sessions if it's possible. I see some of you, but it'll be nice to see most of you joining the live sessions on the weekends also. Okay, research methods. So this one is going to be finding solutions. So what did we do in the last week is that just get an overview of all these fake news, how it is happening, what is happening, what are the methods that it's getting created, all that. Now we will look at how we can actually find solutions to build and how do we actually reduce the impact of it, if that's the goal. I think I'm definitely up for that goal. I have students who are interested in working in this space. We continue asking some interesting questions with it. I mentioned this in the earlier week. Just quickly as a summary, the credibility is the way that people started working on this problem. 2010, at least we looked at a paper from our understanding within the Twitter space was around 2010, 2010 paper. Hoaxes, another way of looking at it, rumors, fake news, misinformation, disinformation. That's if you were to put this as a timeline. Timeline 2010 to 2022, let's take. Again, we can't do justice to this, all the papers that are, at some point in time, I remember actually, I was part of some conference and looking up the papers that are submitted with just the word fake news in title. There were many. I don't know whether that trend is continuing, but that was true like a couple of years back for sure. News on website, right? So we have to look at slightly differently when we analyze news from Times of India page and news from social, but the link to the social link that are posted on social may be going to actually the same Hindu page, but the way it is actually presented is slightly different, right? Headline, image 1, image 2, image 3, and content. News on social, if you see, there's a user who's posting it, there's a timestamp, there's an image, there's a content, there is a so to say tool or how it was posted, then there's a metadata about reactions post to all to the post, and right, so you have all of this provided as part of the tweet itself, right? So D could be, so here this could be the replies, comments, all of that, right? Creator, spread, news content, social context, and this social context is people who are liking it. Creator, that is the person who's created the post or where this link is coming from, and B is the news, the content itself. So let's move on. Right? Components of a fake news, right? We have already seen this. The creators of online fake news can be either real human or a non-human, because it could be that it's just created by a bot, right? Today, Chat GPT, right? It can be used to create so much of content. So I'm sure you can easily create a fake news using ChatGPT also. We should try that, probably as part of the class. Why don't you try creating some news using ChatGPT and post it on the discourse to tell us what came out of ChatGPT interaction. The content that is getting generated target with different victims are targeted, different types of victims are targeted, right? Based on the purpose of the news, the target victims can be students, voters, parents, senior people. I remember different crimes happening only at the senior citizens level, right? Only at the crime. Pedophile, I said in the last part, pedophile is at the children, maybe even just at the students, right? So targeted crimes can happen or are happening. Components of a fake news: physical content, title, body, next, text, multimedia. Non-physical content could be purpose, sentiment, topics, right? So these are the ways in which the content is presented, right? Title, body, text, multimedia, multimodal we have already discussed, and this is something you can actually analyze it from the content that is posted. I mean, this can also be gotten from, so to say, comments on the page, right? Meaning all news media websites have the article, and then they have this comment section where people can go post comments, ask questions, right? Components of a fake news is social context. So using different network analysis and temporal pattern, you can actually find out the context of this news also. We have already seen this, right? Hillary Clinton's post. Let's take, if you were to look at who's posting that content, where did the post come from? Can you actually use the user's network analysis to find the fakeness of the content, the falseness of the content? temporal pattern of the user's behavior also. So for example, one of the ways by which a bot and a normal human being can be differentiated is, so let's take if this was minute of the hour, right? So that will be 0 to 60. Let's take this was hour of the day. That will be 0 to 24, right? If I were to look at minute of the hour for the user behavior, so most likely the users are going to be, meaning if you look at my own post or activities, right? Logging in and looking at it, right? Looking at my Insta, looking at my Twitter, all of that. But when you look at the bot's behavior, it's generally minute of the hour, and this would be very, very something like that. Meaning I'm sure the bot behavior can be changed. This is basically showing that the behavior is highly predictable, highly deterministic. Whereas if you look at our behavior on Insta, I mean, yeah, probably when you get up in the morning, you're going to look at it, but getting up in the morning itself may not be deterministic to some extent, right? So like this, you can actually use the user behavior, meta information, time, temporal data, network analysis, who am I connected with, all of that to find out the falseness of the content also. There's also another behavior, right, which is homophily, it's called, right? Where you think about the friends that you have on Twitter, people whom you're following on Twitter, people who are following you on Insta, who are connected to you on Insta, you'll realize that they're all of the same type, right? They're all probably going to the same engineering college. They're all probably of the same age, a little bit of a year on there, right? Let's take plus or minus 1 or 2 years. In my case, all of them are students, right? Either all of them are students, they're all professors. If you look at my LinkedIn page, that's the kind of people that I get connected to. I don't have connections to people who are, so to say, let's take journalists or people who are who are showing up on TV debates, right, or comparing shows, or right? So those kind of people are not in my network. I don't know. I mean, if I think one should really do the analysis to check, but I'm just thinking that that's not the kind of people that I connect with, right? I'm less connected with, let's take YouTubers compared to students, compared to PhD students, right? So that's the behavior of an homophily, is people of similar nature come together. This can have a different effect. I think another word that you will hear as part of the course at some point in time, or probably we have also heard about it, is called echo chambers, right? So homophily can be used to actually detect what kind of a person I am, right? In the example that I was walking you through, you could easily find out that looking at the people who are following me and looking at the people I'm following, you can easily find out that I have some connections to academia, I have some connections to teaching, research, building systems, startups, right? So It's not very hard to get that. Similarly, can you get the connection to fake news? Fake news as in fake news creator, fake content itself, that. So this is some diagram which is very, very dense, but let's look at only some parts of it to get a sense of what's going on, right? So the idea is that fake news as a problem, if you were to study, there are some components to it, right? Who's creating the news? Who are the victims? What is the context? What is the content? Right. So we are going to only look at the research domain overall is looking at this as context, content, creator, and victims. Right. At the next level, if you see the content itself, is it a physical content? Is it a non-physical content? In terms of context, is it a platform? Is it the distribution that is the context? It's the social, it is the physical newspaper, it is online, right? Potential risk and victim is, meaning we talked about young students, we talked about senior citizens, right? That's here, creator is a real human or a non-human. It's a chat GPT, or it is PK. So if you then break all of this, you will get loads of different types of questions that you can ask, right? So you can ask the question of, so if you look at the content itself, is it the headline? Can you use the headline? Can you use body text, image? Can you use the purpose of that article, sentiment, news topic, social media, mainstreaming, right? So those are all part of the content plus context also, broadcast pattern, community of users, mainstreaming users, who are these, right? Right. Temporal online users, so you're looking at the victims. When you're looking at the victims, it is talking about, are they online users, are they offline users, are they temporally based, and now you're looking at risk analysis, role-based analysis, which is PK versus you as a student in the class, fake news creators, benign author publishers, because this is also real human and non-human, right? Cyborgs, social bots. Right? So that's the space that we are talking about. If you look at it, if you look at any given problem, any given paper that you're going to study on this topic, you should be able to put them into this circle of fake news, if you were to call it that way. Right? So now this was the way that the earlier slide that I showed you, the different types of words. Now let's look at different types of solutions that one can build. And solutions also, particularly from a research point. I think later part of the week we'll actually look at systems that have been built in terms of fake news also. Deduction, right? Deduction, content-based, or context-based, propagation, validation, system design, and interventions. Interventions are, can you create a nudge? System is design is, can you build a chatbot? Can you build a chatbot which is telling you whether this tweet that you're looking at is actually real or fake? Can you build a browser extension? Validation of the results, propagation of the how the fake news is propagating. Can you characterize the propagation of the social media content? So this is the 2010 paper that I mentioned. This is one of our favorite papers, or paper that kind of got us into a lot of thinking about this topic. This is Chato. He used to be at Yahoo. Now he's a faculty in Spain. His paper called Information Credibility on Twitter, a super influential paper in terms of this topic. If you're interested, take a look at the paper, and if you want to talk about it, bring it to the live session or post it on the chat, post it on the discourse. Some research, right? Some research that we should know, or the first one is there's a large body of research in this topic, particularly if you look at the COVID times. There was like huge amount of fake news that was spreading, right? Should you use tamarind powder to cleaning the vegetables? Should you take certain type of medicine? Should you even take vaccine, right? Vaccine, there was so much of fake news around vaccine also that was going on, right? So this one is on the event called Boston Blast. You may remember the graph that I showed you, difference between fake news and the real news. COVID, Boston Marathon, examples. For every retweet we receive, we will donate $1 to the Boston Marathon victims. Pray for Boston. 52,000 retweets, so much of favorites, all that. But the real account was just Boston Marathon. This had an underscore when it actually posted the tweet. This one again, hope for Boston. RIP to the 8-year-old boy who died in the Boston explosion. There was no 8-year-old boy who died in the explosion. So the goal of this paper was to collect all this data, do the analysis, do the standard one as text analysis, text and network analysis, profile. So these are, again, this paper was published in 2011 or 2012. So those period where when the characterization studies of different fake content was very popular. Even now, I think it is done. People are studying different events for fake news, but the characterization is not a very popular direction in research space. So one of the architecture that I mentioned in the earlier pod was to take the content, do some simple annotation, apply an machine learning model, do the accuracy, recall, precision values, or different other, today you can do much more sophisticated machine learning methods and report the results, right? So similar kind of a pattern here, which is manual keyword selection, collection of data. That pipeline is very similar, at least the pipeline that I showed you in the last part is last week, is very similar in many problems that are studied in fake news. Content tagging, select most popular tweets, manually tagged as fake, true or neutral, suspended profiles, collect all user profiles, suspended, Twitter, you posted the tweet, then temporal analysis, spatial analysis, source identification, impact versus growth, suspended profiles, again, retweet, user description, temporal analysis, blah. So suspended users are very useful is because if we can attribute that these accounts were suspended because of the fake news that they posted, and if we have data about these profiles before getting suspended, I think it can be a super cool study. We actually did this study in elections later, many years later, 2019 elections data, probably 2020 paper, which is accounts that are suspended and deactivated, which is you have an account, your account got suspended, or your account got suspended, but after some time your account is getting activated again. So when that happens, what is the timeline? Why could it have happened? What is the pattern of the users after getting their accounts back? That's what we were looking at. Right. So this one is on faking Sandy. Extremely, if you just look at the kind of work that we have done and has a lot of academic attention, I think these are the pieces of work that we did which has most amount of academic attention. So Hemang Hemang was an undergrad when we did this work, went on to do PhD, and now doing super interesting work. So this is on faking Sandy. This shows the tweets that locations from where the posts had come. So it's not only temporal, you can actually do spatial analysis also. If you have the data, if you have the geotag posts, which are not many, if you have the geotag posts, you can actually do many interesting analysis using that data. So when we went on, this is the next set of papers. When we went on this track of finding out fake news, we ended up actually thinking that why not just study huge amount of events together, right? This paper is high impact events. We just took like 12 events during that 6 months or 7 months, and then just did the analysis of Apple stock value, Apple meaning the Apple company stock value, and some system error issue, right? Things like this, which had a lot of tweets that were posted. We had some criteria for when we will decide that it's an high impact event, right? The definition of this is also stated in the paper. So you look at it and then you study the effect of fake news together. So that's the set of events that we study: UK riots, Libya crisis, earthquake, across the world. I mean, if you just look at the event, it will be mostly across the world, and this is the number of tweets. This is the kind of hashtags that were there, and this is the description of the event. Why that event happened is what is described here. It's 14, not 12, right? 14 events we analyzed. So here is another architecture, very similar architecture: tweets, database, human annotation, and then inter-annotator agreement, and then some analysis. Tweets plus users, feature selection. We saw feature selection in the last week also. Some ways of measuring it, which is rank SVM or SVM and things. And then metrics to do accuracy, NDCG. These are all metrics that you can actually use to find out how well you're doing, right? Like, for example, F1 score. So the point for having all this is to show that, look, there is some commonality that you can see in methods. But even today, these are the only methods that you can use, by the way. You have to collect some data, do some annotations, find whether it's a real or fake, use that to actually predict whether a given new tweet is real or fake. So next we will actually see some other methods for finding, detecting fake news. I hope that gives you a sense. The idea for this week content is to take the next step, not just giving you understanding of the basics of fake news or more of features that are there, but actually start looking at how to build and show you systems that have been built, research works that has been done in this space. Thanks again for watching the lecture. See you soon.